Hey guys, welcome to Coffee and Crystals, where we explore yoga, self-development, and entrepreneurship. I'm your hostess, Kadie Cronister, and this isn't just a podcast. This is a space for growth. I believe yoga is more than a physical practice. It's a way of life. Yoga teaches us discipline, balance, and the power of staying present. With over 500 hours of yoga teacher training, I'm going to guide you through a deeper wisdom of yoga. And as a serial entrepreneur, I believe that business should be built with intention. On this show, we're going to explore the principles of yoga and how they can help you navigate your entire journey, creating businesses that feel as aligned as your yoga practice. As a writer, a motivator, and a yoga teacher, I created Coffee and Crystals to share my stories and build momentum for my upcoming book. My stories are about transformation and how yoga and mindfulness have shaped my path both personally and professionally. I'm here to help you step into your highest potential through storytelling and self-reflection. I also believe in the power of community, and on this show, you're going to meet a group that is collaborative, intentional, they move with integrity, and we're all working towards a life rooted in mindfulness. So grab yourself a cup of coffee, your favorite crystal, and let's dig into today's episode.
I was like, I almost couldn't sit there and be a teacher anymore because I'd be like, I could help you with that. I could be spending my time. I could help you. Kids, having like they would have a hard time emotionally processing something, or, they're writing things backwards, or so many things would come up in the day. Emotional regulation is a big one. And then the learning difficulties, of course. You'd see this sweet kid trying so hard. And if teachers don't know some of the stuff that I know, they might think it's effort. A lot of times kids with learning difficulties get told that they need to work harder or it's about effort. And if they just grind enough, they'll get it. But the thing is, that's
me
not
as a
true.
kid. Yeah.
That's not true.
Hey friends, welcome back to Coffee and Crystals. I'm your hostess, Kadie Cronister, and it's season 6. I'm so glad you're here. Today on the show, I grabbed a strawberry matcha from Starbucks, and it's because DJ Rents, my ex-boyfriend who passed away since I spoke to you last, loved matcha. So I grabbed this drink in honor of him, and since I've talked to you guys last, I have been doing a lot of healing. And speaking of healing, I'm excited to introduce you to today's guest, Ruth, a Crossinology brain integration practitioner. I met Ruth in the beginning of 2024 in Costa Rica at a practitioner retreat. Her story is powerful. It's one of healing, resilience, and turning pain into purpose. And I just can't wait for you to meet her. But before we get into Ruth's episode, I wanted to catch you up. Since we last spoke, I wrapped up season 5 with a conversation that meant a lot to me with Rick Veen, someone that I consider a final father figure in the healing series that I rolled out in season 5. And around that same time, my best friend Mark, who I am sitting at his desk right now in New York, was actually in LA visiting me and also plays a fake role as a dad in my life. And he was in LA last time I talked to you guys. He was tied to a project he's doing called the Hot Tub Games. So the fact that he was in my house while I was interviewing Rick all feels very aligned. And later that week, I found out why it felt even more aligned and really great that these people were all around me at this time, because I found out that my ex DJ had passed away. We hadn't been in contact anymore, but DJ's energy was everywhere with me, especially that week. And the day that I found out later was the actual day that he was brought into the hospital. It was kind of like, from the last day I spoke with you guys, the universe has been preparing me to slow down and to make space for what is coming in. It's not woo-woo. I feel like this is a little bit of hindsight that you guys are kind of connected to since you listened to the show. So thank you, by the way. Thank you for the support. I can feel your energy. But yeah, I feel like to ignore the synchronicity would just be not believing and not sitting in my truth. And the fact that Mark was there and Rick was there, it almost feels like DJ's presence was too intense to ignore and kind of part of it all. He loved my stories about Rick. I remember feeling like I hope DJ sees this episode when I was recording it, because he always like wanted to make it to Florida and meet Jenny and Rick. And then he also would have loved Mark's show. I remember thinking, gosh, like if DJ and I still talked, he would totally be at this show because he loved that area. It's why I thought of him when I grabbed the coffee, which, by the way, when I was grabbing this coffee on Robertson, which is his coffee shop, I was later found out that that was when the exact time he was like brought into the hospital. It's like kind of wild that I was like grabbing a coffee, kind of looking over my shoulder, seeing if I would see him. And anyway, it just felt like there was all these different layers that I've had kind of some time to think about. And I've been spending a lot of time journaling, meditating, and reflecting, especially on DJ since I've talked to you guys last. I've been in contact with his cousin and his family, sending little notes and memories that I feel like might land gently and they would kind of laugh or feel warm with the stories that are also making me feel warm. And the truth is when DJ and I were together, I was kind of a mess. I was coming out of the chaos of Travis Matthew, which started with a marriage and ended with a divorce. And he met me at the very beginning of a massive transition in general. And so much has shifted in me since that point. The gift that my friend Brittany gave me for my birthday and DJ's passing was, to talk to a psychic. And she gave me a message from DJ sharing that, love was around the corner and he just like could see my future and that it looked really bright. I had that foot injury. So at my birthday party, I ended up falling and breaking my foot. So I heard that DJ had passed away on 4th of July. I got that call from his mom. And then I had my birthday party, my 4th annual Barbie party, and broke my foot. So fast forward to now, we are sitting in one of the most energetically potent moments of the year. It's the Lionsgate portal. And it peaks on August 8th, which is the day before the full moon and the day before DJ's funeral. So I now have been like placed in this area of like really slowing down and really be like, I see you, universe, using all these signs to really kind of energetically heal. And for you guys to know in your own portal manifestations, this is the time for setting real clear intentions for yourself. It's a time to release past versions of yourself, and it's a time to step into your most aligned, authentic path. And Leo energy reminds us to lead with our heart. And the Lion Gate says, you are ready. And I feel like looking back at last season to this season and in my own personal journey, all of these things are happening to me to get me ready to be ready at the end of the Lionsgate portal. And that just feels really magical. And speaking of heart, we talked about this on the episode. Ruth shared, about her love for the brain and for the heart. But this is the time that there is going to be unexpected shifts. And this past month was a wild, unexpected shift for me. With this broken foot, I had to, figure out a lot of disability insurance, dealing with work. I'm a store manager, so I had to make sure the store was covered. There was so many levels of like fear-infused stuff that was coming at me and still is, to be honest. I'm coming into week 3, so halfway of my healing. Apparently it takes 6 weeks to heal a foot. So, at first I thought this was a sprain, and then after hobbling and getting myself to the doctor, because at the beginning of this, I didn't have crutches. I didn't have a boot. I didn't have anybody to help me. My elevator's broken at my building. I was literally at the beginning of this injury, I was boarding over DJ and crawling on the floor just to get things. So the whole experience getting to the Northeast and just experiencing my healing through my foot and how far I've come, like I was crawling on the floor when it first happened, crying hysterically over DJ the first week. Then I tried to go back to work as I was like getting into the doctor and getting more information on my foot. And, then I was on crutches, and then I was trying to go up the 4 levels of stairs by myself. And then I get wheeled to the airport, and being on a wheelchair and hurt in the airport is like the best travel tip I can give anyone, is like keep that boot and break out those crutches if you want special like queen treatment. So I get to the Northeast. I still wasn't like the best at walking yet, but going into week 3, I'm walking pretty well on the boot. I'm feeling really good about my healing. My neighbors were awesome when I was in West Hollywood, but True shout out goes to my friends and family who have literally been giving me so much love and care. My friend Kelly picked me up at Newark, New Jersey airport, drove me to my aunt's house, really took care of me. My family was amazing, all the good food they made for me. And then Kelly took me to my friend Mark's house where Joseph and Agem and everyone, honestly, it's been really humbling, like learning how to like do things on my own again. I was showering in a chair in Mark's shower when I first arrived, and just being happy and grateful. I think gratitude has been a big piece of this, and just being grateful for standing in a shower. It's humbling. But the psychic told me that this was really a time for me to, the same like usual things for Leo season, like step into your power, be courageous. But she really wanted me to know that these were kind of the last layers. Not that my life is going to be perfect from here on out. She also just shared with me, like, you have planted enough seeds. It's now time to like sit back and tend to the garden. So that brings me back to also Ruth. Again, she's a Crossinology brain integration practitioner, and she's also found a deep healing after a serious car accident and loves to support kids and families with a powerful new brain and body with her work. And her story to me was a perfect way to start season 6. I am so glad we had this pre-booked because I just have had so much going on that I was like, thank goodness this was already on the calendar, because she really reminds us that healing isn't linear. There's so many different parts that we have to play into for a happy, joyful, healthy life. And I think with everything that I've been through since we've talked last is definitely helping me walk towards purpose. And, it doesn't matter how fast or slow we get. Don't wait. Every day, align with your own healing, begin where you are. And Ruth reminds us to not just do it for yourself, but for your community and for the collective. I think what I've noticed is like, it's hard to take care of somebody with a disability, but I think it's bigger than just like my friends making me meals and helping me walk around town. It's a big deal and like a big act of heart, which is what Ruth shares with on the show. It also feels like there's so much more to share with you guys, but I definitely wanted to at least give you guys some insight as to why I am not in my studio in West Hollywood, why I'm still hanging out in New York, give you a little insight about the foot. I should be like walking, hopefully without a boot, in 3 more weeks. Back to LA. I'll be headed to Michigan for DJ's funeral. And yeah, let's get into it. Let's meet Ruth. Hey love, if you're enjoying Coffee and Crystals, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button. It's totally free and it's one of the best ways to support the show. Subscribing helps boost visibility, grow our soul-centered community here at Coffee and Crystals, and it brings more people into these healing, heart-led conversations. I've also opened up an opportunity for you to invest directly into Coffee and Crystals. Whether you're a loyal listener or a conscious brand looking to collaborate, all this information is found in the show notes, and you can connect with me on partnerships, brand features, and creative collaborations. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. Coffee and Crystals is where grounded conversations meet spiritual growth, business with like-minded business entrepreneurs, brands with integrity. So let's grow this together. Cup by cup, crystal by crystal, conversation by conversation. Thanks for being here and stay hydrated. I'm drinking coffee in my friend's Janet Jackson mug. This is probably one of his favorite mugs, but I'm at his house, so that's why I'm drinking out of the Janet mug.
That's awesome. Favorite over here. So Catherine, our cat.
I love Cat.
She gave me this as a gift, and it says, "Let the adventures begin."
This is so Cat.
And once you drink everything, at the bottom it says, "Let the adventures begin," once you're finished. Yes. And it has a world map on it. Because she's a world traveler and I aspire to be her.
Oh my gosh, she's so cute. Like, remember when she was doing the lines of where we all were supposed to live? Did you ever get that?
Yes.
Where were you supposed to live?
I don't remember now.
Oh, I do, because I think about it. She's like, Texas,
maybe
like
she
somewhere near Texas, Australia, which I can relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
I deserve an Australian man.
Yeah. Yes.
Are you a crystal girl?
I am. I should have looked it up and been prepared and known what it's called. But this is what someone had muscle tested for me that I needed in my office space for there to be boundaries and communication and healing. And it was this one. I don't know. My space
I
was
feel like
missing
I'm
it.
stumped on what it is. I was gonna,
I
it's
know.
like
It's
definitely
so
like a
different.
citrine. It has like a cleansing type vibe to it. I was thinking citrine as the lesson because it's Leo season and that's a firestone of the season. Citrine. So a funny thing that I do on my show ever since I met you is I ask people what their favorite organ is. People are like, Kadie, that is
What's
such
your
a
favorite?
question, but I think we were just doing that to be silly, but I don't remember what your favorite organ was when we were
It
playing.
was to be silly. Well, I feel obligated to say the brain.
Right?
Spent so much time studying it, but the brain and the heart, I just love the heart. It
They're
has a
very,
synchronicity to it and just a lifelong partnership. It's like what keeps us alive
I think it's important for people to think about these areas of their body, like really think about them, because I don't think you are. 'Cause on the
right.
heart, it almost like made me feel softer, just like thinking of my
Heart.
heart.
I wanted to throw a curveball and say like my pancreas or my tonsils, but I didn't.
Those are good ones to think about. But it also, I feel like on the show, it gets people thinking about their muscles and their bones and their organs.
Right.
And like, I love hearing fun facts about muscles, bones, and organs. So I don't know if you have one
Yes.
to share. I'm sure you do. But the one that I am really into right now is since I broke my fifth metatarsal in my foot, it is
Yes.
so fascinating to me that the bone is literally like growing back, and like nobody's bone grows faster than 6 weeks. Like everyone's healing process is different, but it's like mind blown about this bone just like there's nothing else to do but heal and wait.
Right. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So many parts of us, so many parts of us. Like we can't say we don't need something because we need each thing and they provide quite a bit of life to it all. So
Yeah, definitely. It's humbling.
so stop and be grateful for the little parts that work all day long
Yes.
that we don't even have to think about telling it what to do.
I know. I wouldn't have thought that walking and like just lifestyle would be so altered from one little bone. But anyway, that's not why we have you on today. Definitely excited of this conversation. My guests, if they're OGs, they have heard of brain integration before through Nancy Lodi, but I still like get a lot of questions when I bring up the subject. So I figured we'd just kick off with you explaining to the listeners what exactly brain integration is.
Yes, so that is a great question. Everyone does want to know. They're like, it has such a fancy name. So what is it? And it's Crossinology brain integration. So it's non-invasive, it's a drug-free method. And what we're using is the acupressure meridian system that the Chinese developed, and people don't know what that is often. So what that is, if you've seen a meridian system, there's 12 organs and then there's 12 organ systems. And they run like train tracks through their body and they connect and they talk. So acupressure massage would rub a certain point to get access to that. Acupuncture uses that system with the little needles, hooking them up and stimulating them. We use that system. It's a different technique, but it's using the acupressure system that they figured out has points all over the body connected to different functions. And what we're looking at is the communication between the meridians and then restoring function. So there's different points in the body. Some connect to the brain and some connect to all over. And they can have to do with talking or thinking, all kinds of things, even sleeping. So what we're looking at is finding which points connect to whatever reason you come in, and then restoring communication to those points.
So I feel like I already at the beginning of this episode, when I said that there was nothing else to do but just like sit and wait for my foot to heal, you probably were thinking, oh, there's probably some work we could do there. Did you think
yes,
that?
I did, yes. Because there's things we can connect brain to body, and then we also have muscle reactivation. And so once a part of the body is healed enough that we can move it, you might not be ready yet, but we can make sure those muscles are talking and connected and turned back on too.
Awesome. So what was your earliest brain integration interaction? Like what made you want to become a practitioner?
First, I watched a YouTube video from a friend who had created a promo for someone else because she had had this great experience with her and her daughter. And I'm like, that's so interesting. That was the first time I'd ever heard about it. But I had a car wreck in 2016 and someone was texting and driving and hit us from behind, and it made our car roll. It caught air and it rolled a couple times. And I had some short-term memory glitching happening. For example, I couldn't add money anymore.
Really?
So I know how much all of it was worth, but to add, you have to hold a number to add to another number. And it was extremely frustrating. And
Interesting.
I was a teacher at the time, and I usually taught from my head because I had done it so many years, and I was having to type complete notes to remember from class to class what I was on. Remembering to go to appointments and work meetings and taking my friend's child home. I went to a house that I hadn't lived in probably 5 years, and I just pulled up into the driveway just on autopilot, even though I hadn't lived there in 5 years. And I was hitting the garage door opener, wondering why I couldn't get in. And then figuring out, Ruth, you don't live here. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Abort. So I remembered that clip. I asked my friend about it, and she reminded me. So I got connected with someone, and I had my own full brain integration done. So there's a protocol that we do. There's also individual hour sessions we can target certain things. And I chose the protocol because I wanted the deep dive on it all. Something I hadn't realized was going to help me is it really targets emotional processing. And of course, we all have things in childhood, no matter how amazing our parents are, because there's birth order or just anything feeling unfair. And then divorce. I had been through a divorce. So I just hadn't thought that would have been I went for like just brain functioning and getting my life back, which I did. I was just so intrigued by the results I got back. And I actually had some better than pre-accident, because when I was younger, I did not have good auditory processing. So if I was learning auditorily in like a lecture class, I could take in what felt like 2%, and I'd go home and read and study, and that's how I got by. There's actually a lot of kids that can go undiagnosed with learning difficulties if they just get good grades, and that seems silly, because if you have a learning difficulty, how are you getting good grades? But it's because they find a way around it. I was disrupting social time, by studying a ton and getting good grades and prioritizing that. But I really did have quite a learning difficulty, and I didn't realize that. So after car accident, I can learn auditorily. I could sit in a class and take roughly 70 to 80% in the first time, and then go study the other 20%.
Wow. I think it's so interesting that like you were able to learn so much about yourself even through learning about brain integration.
Yes.
Yeah.
When he got to the part where he's testing the auditory integration, I mean, it was so off. So there's a piece when we get to the ears where they're clicking a pen and your eyes are closed and you have to grab for where it is. You'd think you'd know where it is, but not only was I not even on the right side of the body, I wasn't even on the right plane. Like I'd grab over here when he was clicking over here. There was a lot of calibration we had to do because I was hearing it over here or over, so he shared with me how off it was. I didn't even know.
Gotcha. So what I feel like, so the 12 protocols, that's 12 different hour sessions, correct? Or is it different for everyone?
So it's different for everyone just because everyone's going to have different things on or off. I mean, if someone came in with a traumatic brain injury or a head concussion or just had brain surgery, it's going to be different. Or if there's varying levels of learning difficulties. And so that also depends. But it is 12 hours, roughly. And then roughly also means if someone's has a lot more emotional trauma or they're coming for PTSD, some deeper things, I will tell them, I've completed the protocol, but we have more hours to dig into this. Would you like to proceed? Because there's built-in hours to work with emotional things, but sometimes people need more. And so that piece comes in.
So many questions already.
Yes.
What kind of challenges are most common for people that come to brain?
It depends. So I have kids and adults. That's always a common question is what age is this for? This is for any age. I even have infants. Yes, infants. They come for colic or sleeping or that's the most usually that.
That's probably a good one. Ever hearing what I think it was my ex-mother-in-law. She got no sleep with one of our kids. She just like holding to that all his life. He was like 34 when I was in the family. But I just remember that always like sticking with me. Like, could you imagine if your baby couldn't sleep? So that is something that you can help with.
Yep, and then crawling too, because crawling is crossing the midline of the body. And if kids are skipping crawling, it actually really affects learning. And so if we can catch it younger, that's even more important because there's a marching piece in the protocol, which I'd be doing later when it's older, but we might as well catch it while it's having a hard time crawling. So we can do the crawling pieces. So learning difficulties are a reason people come in: ADHD, dyslexia, PTSD or anxiety, also head concussions, traumatic brain injuries from accidents at work or ATV accidents. I've had a couple after brain surgery. And then, sleeping, headaches, bowel movement issues. So there's some main categories, but you could probably pretty much think of anything that has to do with the body. There's a system for it. So I get questions all the time. Does brain integration help it? And the short answer is yes.
It's interesting because I don't really know what I thought my intention was when I first met Nancy Lodi, our mutual friend. I don't know if there was something that I thought other than like I would be talking about something and then Nancy would be like, I got to work on your brain. But when I had sessions with both you and Nancy, what I got out of it was more in my workplace and where I see that as focus. Both sessions, I was able to get some really good intel and what I needed to work on as far as writing. And with you, it was like my business and even things I needed to do to start dating again. So I think that that's also interesting to share with people when I'm talking about brain integration of like, it's almost just like, I don't know what words we can or can't say, so I can cut things out, but like it's almost like talk therapy in a way, but feels really intuitively.
Yeah. So while someone's talking and sharing the emotional piece of it, we can add that to what we call a circuit. And that's a ton of information that we can balance actually for your body. So some people, if they would rather think it, they have the privacy to do that because sometimes it's sharing private things. Most of my clients feel better speaking it out. So I just add those components to the circuit and end up balancing it with everything else because what we're putting in the circuit is stress. Part of brain integration is the acupressure meridian system, but the second part is the muscle monitoring. So the applied kinesiology, which is muscle testing. The muscle testing shows us where the stress is. And that can be your body working too hard to make it your body working overtime to try to get it to actually do what it's supposed to, or that can be emotional. And that can also be pathogens in the body, which is bacteria, virus, candida, fungus, that's candida, that creates stress in the body. So there's a lot of blocks that can happen. And what we're finding with muscle monitoring is the stress and then balancing it. This is a common question I get. They're like, how do you actually balance something? So I can go through the whole spiel of how a session goes. Please. Like how a session goes, all these questions, but the main one that at the end, all of my clients say, well, okay, I get all that. And I get that the body's connected and that if you turn on a point, it's going to talk, but how do you turn on a point? That doesn't even make sense. Okay. So we're touching, pretend it's this meridian point and I have your arm out and I'm muscle testing your arm, too. Right? I'd muscle test your arm. If I get an unlock, that means your arm goes down. Then I put that in the circuit. To balance this, I'm holding the occipital, under the occipital bone, there's a little bump on the back of your head. And then the front part of your head. This is called an occipital hold. And at first, I'm going to feel an off kilter beat. It's not between both hands. It's like back, front, back, front, back, front. But over time, I feel my hands heat up and get tingly, and then the beat sinks. The reason this is happening is I have an electrical current in my body. And while I'm touching your head, because I'd be doing this on you in an appointment, my electrical current is the grounding current in the work, helping yours work itself out and balance and talk again. And I can now put the same point in and muscle test your arm and it would be strong. If it wasn't, I just need to hold it a little longer. So there's like a surefire way to know that I did it long enough, that it's connected. Because when you're first starting, you're like, oh my gosh, did I. But you just muscle test again. If you touch the same point, you muscle test their arm and you get a lock, it's balanced 100%. So you're basically you're doing that through a ton of points in the body. And it seems that this is just a simple, but man, this is where the magic happens. Here, the occipital hold. That's where everything is getting corrected.
Yeah. Hugging. It's almost like a brain hug.
Yep. Yep. And it makes sense if you think, there has to be a grounding current to work out someone else's current. And it takes roughly 2 to 3 minutes. There's not an exact time, but that's also why a brain integration takes different amounts of time for people. Just it might take longer to balance it out, or there might be more points that need to be connected, or there might be more emotional traumas in their past. So for a first appointment, what happens is someone comes in, I go over what brain integration is, where it came from, how it works. We do some pre-assessments. Then I actually do begin the balancing that first hour appointment. And then I go over best steps forward and then ask and see if they'd like to proceed. It's always a no pressure appointment. Mostly people just need to know, what is it? Because they might want to say yes, but how do you say yes to something you don't know what it is? So it's always but I tell them, I don't want to just talk and teach. You're going to get the balancing in the first appointment. So I do all the information gathering. I do the assessments. Then I actually start the correction so they can feel and see what that looks like. And then I can suggest from the assessment piece what type of commitment they're looking at for their specific needs. And then we can talk about how they can break that down. Some people are coming from out of town and some people are in town. And so how we break that up is different. Some people are, 3 years old and some are old enough they can do longer sessions. So you can do 1, 2, or 3 hour sessions. Some people come for what I call an intensive over depends. They're coming from out of town over 2 to 4 days and we're completing it in that amount of time. Otherwise, in town, people typically like to come roughly 2 hours a week for about 6 weeks. But if they would like to get it done sooner, they would just book more appointments.
Yeah, if they have the time for it.
Yeah. So what we do, it doesn't have to be, we do need to get the hours in and the hours completed. One piece that's really important that I'm very transparent about the first appointment is we are partnering in your health. And the piece that I need from my clients is we have to look at their gut health and their hydration and their sleep. And so if we find parasites or heavy metals in the body or leaky gut or candida, there's pieces that I give them to do that I can't control. I can't control if outside of here they do those pieces. And so I would love to just be the person that turns all the buttons on and says, yay, we feel better. But, lots of things are systematic. And so I can brain integrate the brain, but if we have leaky gut or pathogens or allergens that are blocking the brain integration I gave them, they might say this didn't work.
Yeah.
But there's pieces. So they call our gut our second brain, but I really like to think it's our first brain. So actually, did you know that our gut actually, fun facts. Did you know our gut actually tells our brain what hormones to release and when and how much? And so don't you think
I can intuitively understand that I feel that, but I wouldn't have known to speak that fact. But that makes so much sense to me.
So the gut has the most receptors in the body that connect to the brain. And so it speaks to the brain and tells the brain how to operate, act, what to release, and when. And so what we put in our bodies really matters. And our microbiome is a huge piece to how well our body feels and how well our mind is. And so my piece is turning it on and muscle testing and finding what's going on. And then I do give my recommendations. Sometimes we really love the BioRay products. They have tinctures that are detoxes with the binder already built in.
Okay.
And there's a kids line, there's an infant line. They have doses for all the ages. We love that product. One thing to know is, though, if I have someone with leaky gut coming in, we first need to address the leaky gut before we're doing a detox. Leaky gut means this. This is another thing. They're like, I hear that word
what exactly
all
is
the
leaky
time.
gut? I just keep thinking it's like diarrhea.
I know, right? So
what is it?
This is what it is. Certain foods. This is going to be your highly inflammatory foods, so processed foods, sugars, the oils.
It's only my second cup today. Nothing. Well, I have this that milk brand that's
okay, that's great. Yeah,
that's all that's in there.
That's great. No, because so coffee. It just you're looking at where it's originated and coming from and how they process the bean. There are more acidic coffees.
Yeah,
and there are ones with pesticides on them.
Makes sense.
But if you put protein with it, so some people
like to
use
a protein smoothie first, and then I had this.
Okay, winning. And some people add collagen to their coffee.
I usually would. I don't have all my things in New York. Gotta get back to my kitchen.
But that also helps. So if you're eating processed foods, sugars, all the inflammatory oils, they actually eat away at the lining of your intestine and it gets really thin to where things pass through it. So if we're eating things and we digest food and then we eliminate it, if we have a really thin piece in our intestines, it actually gets reabsorbed into the bloodstream instead of being eliminated. So we have our kidneys trying to do their job, trying to, pass things through. But if we have basically a punctured intestinal wall, then we're unable to eliminate all the toxins. We can reabsorb toxins or even estrogens because our liver breaks down estrogen and then we eliminate the excess through our stool. And so we could even have high estrogen because we have leaky gut.
Much to think about.
Candida is an overgrowth of yeast in the stomach. It's a fungus, and that is, from excess sugar over a while. And it can actually, over time, grow a barb on the end of it that punctures the intestinal wall too. That's a more mature version of it. It's matured. And so that's the same thing. It's creating a puncture, and then you're having things get into the bloodstream. Once things are in the bloodstream, Candida can actually grow right here on your corpus callosum on your brain.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know
and
that.
So that's extreme levels of foggy brain that people would have. So clearing up Candida is something that I also muscle test, look into doing, give options. In some cases, I refer them to a functional medicine doctor or someone in town because I can do my pieces, but this is also systematically passed and we need a little bit more support. So there's celiacs, there's people with seizures. So
I think this is
the gut
part of what you do though, is educate people. And I love the integrity of being yes, I'm going to do all these things, but I think what you do with your clients is actually a bigger impact, reminding people that it's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. We kind of all have to work together. I love that.
Yes. So we partner in our health.
So to kind of circle back, there's so much here, but circle back on the very first 12 protocols you had. I'm sure a lot of it was memorable and impactful, but what were some of your stories that you were whoa, when the work was being done on you for the first time?
So after the ear integration, I wasn't full with the protocol, so I wasn't done yet.
Okay. I haven't either.
Yes. So I had been going for appointments and we had gotten to the auditory integration piece, which I told you was way off, remember?
Mm-hmm.
I get into my car and the radio's on and I feel like I'm hearing in surround sound, this whole different auditory experience in my car just with the radio. Oh. And I was like, whoa, surround sound on in the car. So that was the brain takes time to integrate. And so you have to sleep. And while you're sleeping, your body is healing, repairing, and integrating. And I hadn't even gone home to sleep yet. And once we're done with the 12-hour protocol, we have people wait 4 to 6 weeks before a post appointment. Okay. Anyways, so some people want to know, will they find results really quick or is it later? It's both. I mean, I've had a child who came in mostly nonverbal. Well, she could talk, but she had a really hard time. She had short answers and they were off topic and, but after we did the hearing centers, so it's not the ear, but it's actually the speech centers around. She was in the back in her iPad on the drive home and just chatting away in the back. Mm-hmm. And so some people have experiences where it's a quick difference. And some people have it where it's more we need the sleep. It's more we need the integration. Everyone needs to wait the integration period. Some people do experience noticing bigger things sooner than others. It also just depends on how off someone is. They might experience quicker balancing or notice it. Also, I tell people that sometimes it's hard for ourselves to notice the changes where the people around us notice them more. So for example, I used to take things more literally. I was not someone to joke with.
Really? I did not see that for you.
Yes, I was literal and I could joke, but I had a hard time seeing the gray area. And for me, I would get offended. And I might not share that with everyone, but I'd go home going, man, I'm offended,
Yes.
But I wouldn't have ever literally said that to someone because if I did, I would have meant it out of maliciousness, right? So I'm like, I don't get sarcasm, that hurts. I don't like it. I would never say that to someone. But when I was done with brain integration, I could see the gray area. I could joke. I even had a friend at the time. He's like, you feel like a different person. I can joke now and you get it.
I feel like I only met you at that period, but I do get what you're saying. I mean, I've had some sessions with brain integration, but when I started feeling like the work I have been doing, one of the biggest factors that I noticed is that when people were like kind of getting anxious or short or, saying things that I didn't like, I noticed that my reaction, like, yeah, I didn't like that this was happening, but my reaction was so different that I was able to be like, well, they've got this going on in their life. I know this person's really stressed. I kind of just like observe, like, been there. I remember when I've done that to someone. So I think like being integrated is very similar. You're kind of able to look at yourself differently, which is a big part of the
Yes.
integration.
Yeah, it's like you can see pieces in yourself, and you also have this space between you and the other person that you don't need to take it on. You don't need to judge it, but you see it.
Right.
But it doesn't have to make you feel triggered anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So, what made you want to be a practitioner? I mean, obviously, you've had a lot of great moments.
Great moments. Yes. So, my own personal experience, it was intriguing. I also have a kinesiology degree.
Okay.
So, a bachelor's of science in
Do people know what kinesiology is on here? Maybe not.
It is the study of the body and the systems.
Okay.
So, it was already something I was really interested in. I had been a public school teacher for 12 years, and I was looking for something to progress to that wasn't in the school district anymore per se. But I didn't know what that was, and I had been searching for it for about 3 years. And anything teachers typically go into, I had looked at everything and none of it interested me. And so after I had done brain integration, I'm like, this is it. No, not just like number one, the motivation was this works. And number two was I was a teacher. And once I had gone back after brain integration to teach, I was like, I almost couldn't sit there and be a teacher anymore because I'd be like, I could help you with that. I could be spending my time. I could help you. Kids, having like they would have a hard time emotionally processing something, or they're writing things backwards, or so many things would come up in the day. Emotional regulation is a big one, and then the learning difficulties, of course. You'd see this sweet kid trying so hard, and if teachers don't know some of the stuff that I know, they might think it's effort. A lot of times kids with learning difficulties get told that they need to work harder or it's about effort. And if they just grind enough, they'll get it. But the thing is, that's me as a kid.
Yeah.
That's not true. So I always give people the analogy of, if I give you all the tools to change a tire, but the jack, how would you change that tire? Well, you could ask a friend, but think about you would need to drive there. First, you need to call them and coordinate the time. And you might be on a time frame of when this is due. And then you would need to go get it. Hopefully your friend's there and commits, and then you pick it up and you bring it back, But like every time you need a jack, you have all these extra steps. And so can you figure it out? Usually we find workarounds in life. We do. We either learn by watching YouTube instead, or we learn by reading the manual instead. Like we figure out how we learn better, but we're adding all these steps that if I could just access my own jack in my head and use it, gosh dang it, think about what we could do. And so it's not about effort. And oftentimes the kids with learning disabilities in class are the class clowns because there's too much shame involved.
Yes. Hashtag shout out to the class clowns. We see you. I see you. That was me.
And it's not always like awareness that they're being the class clown. It's actually subconscious, and it's the shame they're trying to avoid. And so they ask for a ton of extra bathroom breaks, or they've got to be the teacher's helper. They just need excuses to get out of their seat all the time. So it doesn't mean they're always misbehaving, but they're just always trying to find a way to distract or dilly-dally, or, but also be laughing. Because if they can bring the humor to them, then it's a positive, funny thing, and it can distract from the fact that they are having a really hard time learning.
I really resonate with that.
Yes, that's a way people get through things, so it's not effort. And oftentimes they're deflecting and using their other gifts, which is humor, and that's so great. But yeah,
it can be a little distracting and overcompensating.
Right.
So I love that. I feel like that we talk a lot about purpose on the show, and when that like really warmed my heart when you were like, as a teacher, starting to realize that you could help in a different way. I really feel like I resonated with that too, even just with like once I really started practicing yoga and then I had to like go back into the workplace and just see the mental health and just see how much people needed to think of things in a more holistic way and how it was really hard to be the same person at work the more I was working on myself in my yoga practice. It was harder and harder because it was like, the strict thing, the rules, and I get that. We have to have rules, but it was just it's really hard to be a part of that environment for me sometimes. I still struggle with that.
No, I get that. Yeah, so good. Another thought on that I had. So in school, you have roughly, say, 25 kids in your class, maybe 30. And by the end of the day, as a teacher, you always feel like you weren't enough, even though you gave it your all. And no one's telling you that. It's just you knew that sweet kid who came to you and you ran out of time and you never got to it and you can't. And that could have been an emotional need or an academic need. And even though you're like everyone's wearing every hat at school, you can just feel it. And you're like, oh, I forgot. And you write it down for the next day. In this, I love it because my one-on-one attention is on that only person in the room, and I never feel like what I had to give didn't, wasn't enough that day. And so I just love that I still get to be with kids. All of my teaching background still helps a ton because I know exactly what grade level they need to be at what. I easily communicate with the teachers because I know what questions to ask. I know what data to ask for. And things that I can ask them to do to help the child and communicating with parents.
That's probably a big key for you.
I'm used to that. So I love that I didn't need to give up something I'd spent so long doing. I get to bring it. I get to still use it. I do love kids. I am comfortable with kids. People who start our program, some have never been around kids. And so that's their challenge at first when we start doing case studies is they're overwhelmed by what to do with kids. And that's really comfortable for me. They can be wiggly. We can play I Spy while I'm working. I have different fidgets. I have all these questions to ask them to get them to tell me their really long stories that never end.
Oh my gosh, this is why you're good at working with me too.
So, I'm just very comfortable with kids. I do love the adult break too, though. So I do love that I'm not just with children all day. Not that that's a just, but I love that I get children, adults, retired people, because everyone's perspective gives me something. So one thing I didn't see this profession giving me was just like such a window, this pure window to someone's soul. And they think they're coming in to get help, but from their life experiences that either cause joy or trauma are teaching me so much. And I love the humanity in every single session. It's so pure. It's so pure. And we can get just down to the real heart and vulnerability of life every day. And I get to be that space where people are getting so real and so vulnerable. And I am just honored. I'm so honored that's my space every day, is just seeing the deep wholeness and beautiful pieces of just straight up humanity.
I love that. So, that like gave me chills. That was that was beautiful. And honestly, I'm sure your office, and you can maybe touch on that of where you do the work, is wonderful. But I got to be in your villa in Costa Rica overseeing the beautiful beach, the like private beach in the back underneath the trees. We did our journaling, our writing earlier in the week. We were feeling good. That was quite the experience. And I think what I took from that experience, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I just remember laying there feeling like I was with like a friend, somebody that was seeing me, but like non-invasively. It was really safe, and it was also really fun and comfortable. So I could see how that could work for like all ages. It kind of engages all the senses.
It does. And I have women and men, because some wives say, well, are men comfortable? And I say, they won't when you first say, hey, I'd like you to do this. I'm like, but if they come in for the very first appointment, again, it's no pressure. They really just need to hear what this is and why we're doing it.
Experience it. That's what I always say. Just experience it. I can pitch it all you want, but like everyone's experience is going to be so precious and different.
And actually the men share the most vulnerably. I'm gonna tell
That's
you.
awesome.
So
I feel
it's
like
really
men love
sweet.
that space to be able to be
They're just
emotionally
so
like
like you
heard.
would think, yeah. So you would think that not you would think, but some wives or before they come in, they're not really sure. And I even give them the option. I don't need them to share. If I have them think about what's stressing them, that's enough to muscle test. But most all of them just really share. And sharing vulnerably doesn't have to be tears, although I warn everyone that if we get to something, it's usually something you're not aware of. I call it this little guitar string. It's like once you pluck that little guitar string and you feel that vibration come out, it just has to come out. I'm like,
Yeah.
just let it and we'll breathe through it because there's a reason your body's choosing to vibrationally let that go. And that happens to everyone at some point in one of the sessions. That little,
Wow.
they're like, whoa, I didn't even
I
know
can see
this
that.
affected me. I didn't even know this affected me anymore. But that little guitar string gets plucked. And so men and women alike, children, girls, boys, it's really special because we get to see the real struggle, but then also the courage, courage
Yes.
it took to even be where they are. It's not about what they did or didn't get wrong or what someone did to them. It's so much more about the courage of how they're even where they're at, I am constantly I'm like, you don't understand. You might feel from what you just shared. Like, I am feeling so inspired right now. I could go
Yes.
take on the world. Where someone might have
Aw.
just shared so vulnerably, either a mistake they made or, something that was done to them, or I don't know. I'm always just so awe-inspired by how humans find ways to just continue going, finding what matters to them, finding who they love, getting through it.
And you're
It's
able to be more clear by doing things like brain integration. Because I feel like so
right,
much of what you're saying is kind of the season before the Lionsgate Leo season just
right.
started. And
Yeah.
I love that you brought up courage because that's part of what you do every day, all day. But that's a big feeling and energy of the season right now in Leo season. And I feel like as a little girl, that's a lot of what I'm writing about in the book that I'm writing is like there was so much opportunity for me to be really brave and courageous from a very young age. But when I think about it, it literally gives me goosebumps now because now that I'm ready to talk about it and be vulnerable and bring it into this beautiful story of resilience, you start to be like, okay, a lot of that sucked, but I sometimes people are like, I don't, kind of like you were saying, they're just like, I don't even know how you went
Yeah.
through that. So I feel like brain integration is a great way of storytelling. Every time I jump on
Hmm.
a social media call with Nancy, she always starts with like a client story that she just wants to tell me back because she's so passionate about it. And she's like, isn't this cool that this happened? And I'm like, I just love that because it's like that just has kind of been our flow, but it's just because being a brain integration practitioner, you guys are really passionate about what you do.
Yes, yeah, it's incredible. So we make sure that, just like any appointment, it's confidential.
Yes.
And if I need help from another practitioner on a certain case that might be, pretty tricky or just not something I've worked a ton with, then I do get a written consent from the other person to share if it's any medical documents or things. So we do get written consent if I am sharing with another practitioner for any reason. But yeah, I mean, the fact that they just let me in. And it's not every session where we're getting to that. It's just it will happen at some point in the 12 hours because there's a reason why we're stuck or we're not getting or connecting and there's always at some point something emotional from our past or our
Yeah.
current stresses too.
Yeah. Your
So
issues are in your tissues.
yes, and what you just said about being ready or the courage to share, oftentimes don't see really how incredible it is what we did because it's just our life. It's just what happened. It's just what we did. We don't see the perspective of someone else going, oh my gosh, like how did you do that? We kind of undermine it, not on purpose, because that's our life. That's just what we did. That's what we had to deal with.
Yeah.
So sharing it is a bigger deal. You can think, oh, well, that wasn't, I don't know. And it's like, no, from my perspective, that's a huge amount of courage. And how did that little girl ever figure out how
Yeah.
to,
Think about that, process that, find
and
courage
doing
in
it
that.
with maybe a learning difficulty
Yes.
and
Yes, I
doing it
think
anyways.
that's another thing that I love about Crossinology, brain integration, is it really just gets away any stigma about learning disabilities. It's so cool that we're talking about it now. And I'm sure it did exist when I was a little girl, but not as much as it is now. More people are hearing about it. But with that, I know you had told me before, you shared with me, like, you don't really have to like market the business a lot because people hear about it, or like, how are people hearing about brain integration? Like, I don't think, like, in my circle, people know about it because of me, you know? So I'm just curious of how people are hearing about the work.
Yeah, so from my experience, I've started a business in Wyoming and I was out of a wellness center. Here, I'm in a space, my own office created just for this out of my home. And where I live, that's a very prominent way of running business. In Wyoming, it wasn't, and so I chose to have a actual business space. But I have started a business in two different places, and what I can tell you is I don't know, for what we do, marketing really just isn't needed because if you can get one person to come, then they can't wait when they're done to tell their family, their grandma, their friends. I'm referral based, and so in Wyoming, I was booked out 4 to 6 months.
So cool.
The entire time I was there with, I think I had one Facebook or one Instagram ad.
Yeah.
And then moving here, what a
Because
cool
it works.
experience.
This is so cool.
Yeah, it just works. So I don't really need to market because people do it for me. I'm just so grateful. They
Yes.
just they share their story. They're sharing it passionately, like wholeheartedly, just like check into this, see what it could maybe do for you or your child. And then what's so neat is we're having whole families do it. So it's helping marriages and it's helping parent-child relationships and it is helping kids learning too. And it's helping the home environment as well as academics. And so that's huge. Like if a parent doesn't have to get triggered over the same thing and project on the child, then now we can take care of, generational things that we
trauma.
do.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
amazing. So it sounds like what the need really is more brain integration practitioners.
Yes, which we are working on. When I moved here, what was neat is I started in this pickleball group. I didn't know
Really never took you
pickleball.
up on that. But I did
I
get into
know.
like hardcore the running club, which I'm clearly out of right
There you
now,
go.
but I did get into the community after we chatted.
Yes. So for those of you who don't know, I'm in St. George, Utah, so southern Utah. And pickleball is like it's pickleball mecca here. Like you'll get asked several times a week because somebody always needs a fourth. They're like, hey, we need a fourth or we need an eighth because you need groups of four. And so the first week I was here, I got asked to play pickleball 3 times in my first week. I was like, I think we need to learn how to do this. So I started going to this pickleball league at our athletic club. And what's the first question people ask you when they don't know you? Who are you and what do you do? And so it was just constant verbal marketing, even though they were getting to know me. And I'm like, oh, I do this. I moved here from this. And then they'd go, wait a second, what? And then
Grassroots, everyone. I'm big on
yeah. And
grassroots.
so that's how it started up here was actually pickleball club.
I love that. Well, and what's next for you? What you working on?
What am I working on? Well,
we're supposed to be manifesting and putting it out there.
Manifesting. Right now, I'm kind of I'm holding the pace. I'm holding the pace, but I'm taking lots of time to be with my son. I have one child. He's going into 9th grade. I just want to do everything
Amazing.
I want to be at
So
every
cute.
football thing,
I love that.
like I want to be there to take him and drop him off to school. And I have been. So I've just kept the commitment that I'm really grateful for my business and I really love growing it. And I do have a vision for next steps, but that's like in 4 years. I love the conversations I get from him on our ride home from school. And I love being there while he's making his after school snack and I'm getting the updates. And I love taking him to football practice.
Cool.
I want to be there at everything. So I am working, but I work through the hours of while he's at school because even though it doesn't matter, he's going into 9th grade. He doesn't need me after school. It's not about that. I have one kid. I want to enjoy him. I want to be there for every teeny little thing because he is a fun teenager. And so work-wise, I'm kind of just at where I'm at and loving it.
I love it.
Nancy's coming. Yes, Nancy's coming here for a muscle reactivation class in September, so I'm going to attend that with her.
The marketing that you guys, you'll see it go up on the 29th.
Yes, can't wait. So I'm going to be at that and enjoy watching her teach and do whatever I can to help. I do the business class through the school or while Nancy does her stuff. So I love the business side of things. Long term, I do, how you see counseling offices where you can go and there's just tons of different counselors in the office. I do have a vision for just a bigger space where you can walk in and there's 12 practitioners in the building.
That would be so cool.
And I do live in an area where it's beautiful. People could want to live here because you do need to be in a place people would want to move.
Right. Yeah.
We do have airports, our local airport, and then Vegas not far away, so location matters. So if we're looking at that, I also love public speaking.
Okay, awesome.
So I'd love to do that in
Yeah.
some version, some way,
And get
in the
more bit
future.
practitioners.
Yeah. So yes, we need more practitioners. That's our, like, as a group collaborative, that's our big vision, is just getting people, at least we want one in every school district.
Yeah, that would be a good goal.
And if we can't do it with the school district, we just want that many people, like a practitioner
Yeah.
per school district in the United States is our goal.
All right.
So
Well, we'll have to have you back and hear where we're at on all these things. But
yeah,
it's been such a pleasure to have you. Is there anything that we didn't go over? I feel like we could have like 12 sessions of this.
I know. I'm like, let's see.
Or any questions for me? It's okay if not, but
I don't know. How long are you in New York?
I know that has been quite the question with everyone. I'm like, I was thinking maybe this week, but then Nancy, I might go to Boston, see her.
Oh, good.
I have a friend that passed away, and I keep calling it a wedding. Why do I call funerals weddings? I've kept calling every funeral I've been to.
It's a celebration of life.
It's a celebration of life. It should be more like viewed as a wedding. Anyway, that's in Michigan, so I'm going to be flying there, and I figured I might as well just stick it until that and then go home.
Yeah.
We'll see. Stay tuned.
Well, I love watching your
journey.
adventures.
It's a new journey.
Yes, I follow you on all the journeys. I love seeing the funny, yummy things you have to drink and eat. I love your run club, all the fashionista stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Please show me.
Thank you for saying that.
I come to your page for your fashion.
Oh my gosh, you would not right now. It's hilarious that I'm in New York and like definitely not fashionable, because I got on the plane with just a backpack and just like threw things in, thought it was going to be a long weekend, but then I was like, well, I don't really have to go back, but I am not fashionable in New York City right now.
That's okay. That's okay.
Thank you so much for coming on this show. Take your vitamins, Ruth.
Yes, take my vitamins.
All right, love you. Thank you so much.